Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
So I should start off by saying that I'll explain some technical difficulties that we had last week. So apologies, my audio wasn't 100% last week, Steve, because somehow this microphone that I've been using for 11 odd years has decided to not record any audio last week. So I had to rely on my MacBook's mic like I am today. So hopefully, I'm fingers crossed it comes out okay. But it made me wonder, like, it could be that maybe it's gone on the blink. It was around this time 11 years ago that I started using it. So, it's a good long run, I guess. So it's a good excuse to go toy shopping again for some brand new fancy one or whatever. But it was curiously timed with all of the updates to iOS and macOS that recently came out. It was after I upgraded everything, and all of a sudden the microphone didn't work. Now, is it because it got bricked by the latest software from Apple? I don't know, but it was a bit annoying. So because I want to make sure that the audio is good, but what are you going to do?
Oh, it's always suspicious, isn't it, when there's an update and then something doesn't work.
And this is what I'm saying, when it's the pro workflow, when you need something to work at exactly the right time and it doesn't. It's very frustrating, but I've got some redundancies in place, so for that very reason, that 0.1% chance something happens like it did last week, it's covered.
Well, there you go. I guess just another dongle from Apple.
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about Apple retail before and how potentially that could improve, but it seems like Netflix is planning to launch retail destinations, according to this kind of rumor story we saw. And, interesting, like the idea that you could buy food there, you can get like a whole experience, so to speak. Like, my mind kind of went straight to like they could potentially create cinematic experiences there, because they're going to have the content backlog. Probably by the time they start launching it, they'll have a lot of Netflix originals, like even more Netflix originals. So if they're concerned about rights to other material that they've got, they don't even need to go there. They can just promote their own content and whatnot. And given that we're moving into an era with Vision Pros and the 3D headsets and whatever, you can imagine that might become part of the experience as well. So merchandise and all of that. So it's kind of got that Disney-esque kind of vibe thing happening as well. I don't think it'll obviously turn into an amusement park, but you kind of get the idea. But it's interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it's very interesting. I kind of was thinking about it myself, a bit like you, and you think about the experiences that they can put in and the experiences they can charge for in store. I mean, Netflix makes high quality content. All it has to do is create an immersive experience. Where maybe you pay $30, $20 for 3 minutes in some sort of environment that people. That's the way content's going. No one wants to pay the $20 to spend 2 hours stuck in a seat somewhere watching a screen. I'd much rather pay $20 and have 3 minutes of entertainment. I mean, that's the way the world's going, and I imagine that Netflix could do that really, really well. And then just like you might experience at the cinema now, you've got a shop there, you get a little bit of a food experience, totally overpriced but full of sugar, and buy yourself a T-shirt on the way out. I love it.
While watching vertical videos from TikTok or whatever, or TikTok, like I should say. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do. I am. I'll admit that I wonder sometimes with these things is that they're all when corporations start to become really big, they're always looking for the next thing, and to me, I wonder, are they biting off more than they can chew? Are they going too much away from what they were about in search of growth?
This is a good question. I mean, they are a digital company and they are a content company, and I think there are going to be in the next decade a lot of different ways to experience content. And we've already spoken at length about the traditional cinema experience, and as I say, I mean, I'm not finding a lot of joy going to the cinema these days anyway. So like spending that money to spend 2 hours watching something that I wish would finish in about 10 minutes. It might just be that I'll trade in that old cinema experience for a 10-minute experience at a Netflix store. I can't wait to see what that's going to look like.
Absolutely. All right, we'll see the big N out the front of on a big sign somewhere in maybe 2 years' time, and we'll see how it goes. Absolutely. Now, this second story that I pulled out, I like a bit of bread. I think lots of people do, and I just kind of like this different bacteria needed for different flours and sourdough, and it's just kind of like a mixing in of a bit of scientific testing in there as well to see what would work. I thought this was quite interesting. That this team, got baking, did a bit of tests, basically 10 different flours. To make a total of 40 starters, and they got all these different types of aromas and whatnot out of the bread, and it just goes to show that you can look at it from a scientific point of view as well. It's not just I'm sure they had lots of bread that they could chow into at the end of the experiment. Although the ham aroma one that was mentioned, that seemed a bit I don't know if I'd go for that, but it just depends on how you go. But it's interesting that you can study it, and also kind of indicates how food can be manipulated in that way as well, through that lens, for lack of a better term.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, just as an example, wine relies on different microbes to get different effects in wine, different aromas, different flavors, different sort of, sensations. And it's interesting, using bacteria, you can effectively get the same sort of thing with bread, complex aromas, that come with the bread and change the sensory experience of eating the bread. I think the other thing it also shows is, with increasingly, interest in probiotics or microbiomes for health in the gut, and in our environment, you can see that different microbes like different environments, different feedstocks, and create different environments or different experiences in the environment, such as through flavour or tastes that we might get in the bread. So it is fascinating. It's something for us all to consider. And really, when you think about it, it means that, if you really got creative, you could make some very funky bread.
Well, aside from the scientific curiosity, I'm getting hungry right now. It is around lunchtime after all, so I might have to make myself a nice sourdough sandwich, which will go down a treat.
That's making me hungry now too.
Absolutely. And we had one other story about Spintronics for future tech, which I thought was interesting, just from this whole discussion around, the future of computing. Where's it going to go? How's it going to manifest? What are some of the challenges underpinning it? We've spoken before about quantum computing needing, the right temperature to function, which is extremely low, of course. But I thought this was interesting, the idea of, if I'm getting this right, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the idea of angular momentum of an electron to store and read information. So the idea that its spin is also a place that can be exploited, I guess, to further enhance the ability of a potential future computer, which sounds like amazing to me. Like I have to give credit to these people that are studying these things, that it actually occurs to them that, maybe we could have a look at that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So yeah, this is a concept in theoretical physics that now they've demonstrated. So they've actually shown that you can use this to create the energy, and you can use it for memory storage. So it would reduce the the energy required for all the storage that we need, and probably opens up a whole new range of solid state devices, from what I understand. So it's fascinating. It's beyond me to try to explain it, but it's so interesting, and I think one of the things we're seeing in have seen and will continue to see over the next decade as we push towards moving away from fossil fuels. I think what we'll see increasingly is new techniques and new ways to save on energy generally, as much as generating new sources of energy. So this is something that helps us save energy and increases capacity. And I would imagine that the response times through this would make it an even more efficient means of managing and storing data. So it's unbelievable, brilliant.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key that you mentioned, the focus towards energy efficiency and getting that down, because historically computing has kind of sucked up a lot of power. And anecdotally, I still have fun at my laptops, my work laptop anyway, that seems to be sounding like an air conditioner when even when I open Outlook.
With the Intel processor generating temperatures around the core of the sun.
Yeah, that's right. Or latest iPhones or whatnot that are coming out. But it's interesting, and yeah, okay. Apple's taken some strides with their A and M series chips and has kind of demonstrated that you can do that. But this is one step further, because obviously, not to discount what Apple's done with the ARM chips, which are now going to progressively, go across the rest of the industry, and you already see them in Android phones and whatnot with the Snapdragon chips and whatnot. They're still based on a architecture that was developed in the 20th century, and for whatever reason, they're now starting to exploit it now. But this is like another level, well beyond that.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and what it unlocks now, is increased performance, and with the AI or the neural networks that you're finding increasingly on chips, that working to reduce power consumption, and then having this to reduce the power consumption on energy on storage, means that even without quantum computers, we're going to a whole new generation of desktop, laptop, personal computing.
And I guess one last thing that sort of came to mind, which might seem a little bit out of left field, but if you think of the human brain and how powerful it is, like as a computing unit, for lack of a better term, yet what it's able to do comparatively with on such less power, like it's a highly power efficient way. There's certainly an element in the universe that can allow for this to happen. And when you combine that with how scientists go out and try and discover these things, to me that's the amazing linkage that happens. That we've got examples of these things, and now we're trying to figure out almost how to reverse engineer them in a way to try and come up with our own sort of devices to take advantage of these things.
Exactly, and no matter how complicated the human memory is, as you say, it doesn't take a whole lot of power to store it. Not for some of us, anyway. And if it's possible inside the human brain, then it must be possible to do something similar on a chip or on a device. So. Yeah, perhaps we're starting to approach those sorts of levels of sophistication.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. A lot of interesting things. Sorry, my brain hasn't really moved on from the sourdough bread discussion, so I'm going to be doing that straight after this, before I get into editing. I need some food in me before I get down to work.
Well, that sounds like a good plan. I'm going to go and enjoy lunch myself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so don't forget to check out our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and Vimeo channels, our RSS feeds, and watch us on any and all of your devices. And we greatly appreciate your visits to our website. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.